I think we have an inspiration deficit in our world. Let me dive in to tell you what I mean by that. I've been carving my own path as a self-employed entrepreneur over the past 4 years. And I've traveled to places where there's digital nomads, solopreneurs, freelancers, people starting e-commerce businesses. Many of these people are living in opposition to the default world of work. This is the go to school, work for 40 years, and then retire. They don't buy into this system. Now, I think a lot of people look at these people and say, oh, they're just rejecting the system, they can't cut it, they're not good enough to succeed in the default world of work. And I think there's a huge thing missing. What I notice in these people is that they are desperately hungry to work on interesting projects, challenging projects, and want to work for people who are inspiring. Not to mention, would love the opportunity to lead organizations. However, the economy we're in now is not the economy that our parents grew up with. My father worked at a manufacturing company for 40 years, and when he started, the company was making less than $100 million. When he retired 40 years later, they were making tens of billions of dollars. This unprecedented growth was very common throughout the latter half of the 20th century. You had industrial companies like GE, Xerox, AT&T, even international ones, Samsung. You had Sony, Toyota, so many companies across the world, Siemens. All these companies were growing, exploding as globalization took off. And that meant for many of the rich Western nations that you kind of just had to follow the default path, and you would be doing some pretty cool stuff. You'd be building things, you'd be promoted, you'd be given challenging leadership opportunities, and there is a deficit of that in today's world. We've educated more people and pushed more people towards these worlds of work, and we have not delivered the opportunities or inspiration. What a lot of people are doing is what Adair Turner has called zero-sum work. Let me just read a quote from something he wrote. Look around the economy and it's striking how much high-talent manpower is devoted to activities that cannot possibly increase human welfare, but entail competition for available economic pie. Such activities have become ubiquitous. Legal services, policing and prisons, cybercrime, and the army of experts defending organizations against it, financial regulators trying to stop mis-selling, and growing ranks of compliance officers employed in response. The huge resources devoted to U.S. election campaigns, real estate services that facilitate the exchange of already existing assets, and much of the work that happens in the financial economy. Now, it's really hard to untangle this, right? You can't argue against the world of work and the lack of all this inspiration and opportunity without kind of being brushed off. Deep in the psyche of the American relationship to work is that you work hard and you pick yourself up by your bootstraps. That is how you can become a good person. Somebody who makes money is a good person in the American economy and many other rich industrial economies, not to mention many other parts of the world as well. So I want to read some more quotes to just highlight the stark difference in the economies. And a lot of our conception of work and how we think about it started in the 1940s and 1950s after World War II, when the industrial economy really started to plant its foundation. And there was a lot of really interesting writing in the 1940s and 50s about how this was taking off. And a great book about this is William White's Organization Man. Let me just read a quote from his book, which he published in 1956. So corporations have been expanding at a great rate, and the effect has been a large-scale deferral of dead ends and pigeonholes for thousands of organization men. With so many new departments, divisions, and plants opened up, many a young man of average ability have been propelled upward so early and so pleasantly that he can hardly be blamed if he thinks the momentum is constant. I think what happened is that this kept going on for quite a while. Some people have called this period of time the Great Boom. And if that happens for a long period of time, almost everyone is going to believe, hey, just show up, work hard, and you'll be taken care of. And as we know from looking at the data in today's economy, that's just not happening as much anymore. Here's another quote. He's talking about somebody that was getting an opportunity with the local church. And he's quoting someone else. For the last 2 years, I have been chairman of the board of the church, a job held by 55 or 65-year-old man in most communities. This gives me a training valuable in business. The church is a corporation with a $50,000 budget, and we've had to think about a $100,000 capital loan. How else could people our age get a chance to deal with that much capital? We're forced ahead of our time. Literally a headline, you just don't see it in today's world. People are not pushed beyond their capabilities. We tell people they need more skills, they need to keep learning, they need more degrees. And the truth is, we just don't have enough opportunities for people. And I've written another essay about this called The Boomer Blockade. I'll link it up in the description below if you want to explore some of the data and demographics that explain why this is happening in today's workforce. All this being said, I think right now we're starting to see, and it started to emerge in 2020 when everyone was forced to operate in the virtual world, that there is now more optimism and opportunity seeping through into the world. We're seeing it starting virtually and then slowly coming into the world. And I think this is going to be the pattern we see over and over again, because optimists might be stuck in many different cities and be a bit distraught. But as soon as they know they can find each other, they're going to say, man, maybe we should just build something together. Build it first online and then go out into the world. And you can bring those opportunities and optimism and inspiration that people so desperately crave into the world. And I think what's happening is that there's a premium on inspiration now. Anyone who is able to channel optimism, inspiration, challenges, and opportunity are going to demand a premium. This includes people, writers, people who are online. This includes entrepreneurs. They'll attract investors that believe in them. We already see this a lot in Silicon Valley and technology. And we're also going to see this with companies. Take a company like On Deck. I think what they're doing is sensing there's all these driven young people and they desperately want to challenge themselves, do great things in the world, except they also don't want to have to go spend $100,000 at a top tier MBA or other grad school. They're ready to just get started working. They just need to find the other people. So On Deck says, come here, find the others, we'll bring in great teachers, and we'll iterate as we go, and we'll build towards that new and interesting future. And really, the default old school institutions can't compete with organizations or people or institutions that are channeling this new brand of optimism and inspiration, because they're so tied to the way things used to work and higher prices and just a different way of seeing the world.